question among us. But let's make this, you heard from three panelists how much more investments required. You heard comparison with other countries. Given that what you heard today, tell us how you see from the national government, not from your country, but from other countries, and what possibly you would do differently.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm kind of used to be on the spotlight, being a Minister of Budget. So, I really appreciate, what I've been showed earlier by the panelists. So I agree on what have been said, by the way, mainly on the three main pillars that we need to focus on, particularly housing, infrastructures, and jobs. What do we do locally? Because there's a difference between theory and being on the ground and try to implement things. So a lot of things have been done by governments during the past years. And one of them is basically on the fiscal side. A lot of people mention land taxation. And it's quite important. It's actually key in order to develop our cities. But it's not easy to do it on the ground because we do have some issues in the way we manage our land and property rights. So one of the main things we need to put a strong emphasis on is property right management. That will basically help in developing a mortgage market, and that will definitely help in financing housing and even financing in general of the economy. So that's really important. As far as Ivory Coast is concerned, a lot of things have been done in that area. First thing that we did was basically to put online basically the register for land, so that when you actually, I lost my English, by the way. So when you basically, how do we say notaire?
Oh, lawyer, when the lawyer...
Registrar, yeah, exactly. When you register, you don't need basically to go and look for the paper at the local tax administration. You can go online and see all the information you need about the property you want to do a transaction on. So that's quite important because it reduces the duration of time you have to, and also all the different procedures. You can go online and do everything. Second thing that we did also was to reduce the duration of time that it takes to have the permit to build a house. It used to be more than 300 days to get the permit. Now you can get your permit in less than 90 days, 90. 90 days is still long, but we'll continue we continue to reduce that number in order to make sure that that number goes lower and lower. Something that we did also is to set up a one-stop shop whereby you can go and get all the different papers that you need in order to get your permit of construction. Second thing is on the fiscal side. When you talk about urbanization, you need to make sure that it's actually, you give incentives for people to actually go from one place to another, because you don't want everyone to be into the major cities. And that's something that the President Ouattara understood, and the government is actually working on it. So what we decided to do was basically to set up a new fiscal regime whereby we divide the country into three different zones. Zone A, Zone B, and Zone C. Zone A is basically where Abidjan, the main city, is. And Zone C are basically all the different places where you have less than 60,000 inhabitants. In Zone C, for example, when you do an investment as an investor, you can get 15 years, 15 years of tax exemption of corporate tax. We did it because we want to push companies to go and invest there so that you can create jobs. So that are the kind of things that we do in order to make sure that people goes into different areas in the country. Second thing that we did also was on the infrastructure side. You want to make sure that when you talk about urbanization, you give the basic infrastructure so that people can go into that area. You cannot force people to go into one area. One thing you can do is put the basic infrastructure as that was actually mentioned in one of the presentations, once you have something, people will naturally go there. And that's something where we put a strong emphasis on. Ivory Coast, for example, have a capacity of, in terms of power, of 1,650 megawatts. We want to bring that to 4,000 megawatts by 2020. But at the same time, we want to make sure that all the small areas in the country are electrified. And the goal is basically to make sure that all the different areas with less than 500 inhabitants are basically, of more than 500 inhabitants, are basically electrified. And we actually have around 1,500 of them. From 2011 to 2015, we electrified 800 of them. So that's something also quite important that we do. Still, in terms of urbanization, water supply, you want to make sure that people go in areas where they have water. And something, just a number for you to remember, in Ivory Coast still, because that's the country I know the most. For the past 4 years, from 2011 to 2015, we bring the quantity of water supply that has been brought to the population is more than what have been. It's actually kind of the same level that what have been brought during 50 years, from 1960 to 2011. So in 4 years, we brought around the same level of water supply to the population that what has been brought during the past 50 years. So urbanization is key. We understand it. We know there is a long way to go, but we're trying to find the right solution by putting a strong emphasis on housing, infrastructure, and jobs. Housing also, we gave also some incentives for people to build social housing, because one thing is to build house, but the other thing is to make sure that they're affordable by the population. So if you're a company and you come in Ivory Coast and you build more than 3,000 houses, of which 60 are basically in the range that we define as being social, you basically have a lot of tax exemption. Second thing that we did also to make sure that people build actually some cities. In the past, when you have a land and you want to build, to develop a program, you pay property tax on the full superficie. Since the 1st of January 2015, we reduced basically that thing by 25%. So you have tax exemption on 25% of the land. I can go forever, but I'm going to stop here.
You'll get a lot of questions, so thank you very much.
No worries.